Ask a Curator today, and I am Kat, the curator at the British Motor Museum. I'm here to answer all the questions that you submitted through social media. I love coming in every day and doing something slightly different each day of the week. So there could be cataloguing that needs to be done, filming, interviews, I've done some radio broadcasts, but I also love working on all the exhibitions we do as well. Every day is completely different, and also every day I learn something new. So I get asked quite a lot about where cars are in the collection and if things are on display, and there are a number of different reasons why you might not be able to find a car here. Obviously we're a working museum and we have a workshop here too, and we do a lot of conservation work on the cars, so occasionally they'll go in and out to go into our workshop, and not always can they be seen by the public there. There are also cars we have here that aren't actually part of the museum's collection, and they're on loan to us through private organisations or even members of the public. Sometimes they obviously want their cars back, either for personal use or to go to events. So cars can go in and out for our own events that we're attending with our collection, as well as vehicles on loan. The best advice I can give you is to email us, and you can email me directly at museum@britishmotormuseum.co.uk. Again, the representation of the collection is a question I get asked quite a lot in my inquiries, and the answer to that comes in part to do with the history of the trust itself. So the British Motor Museum and the British Motor Industry Heritage Trust actually started off its core collection as Leyland Historic Vehicles. This was when British Motor Corporation got set up. They had a historic vehicle collection which was mainly used for their publicity and press, and they started the collection there. As it grew, it turned into a separate charitable trust, which is the British Motor Industry Heritage Trust. But the base collection came from all those British Leyland marks, and that's why they're quite heavily represented in the collection you see here. Controversially, my favourite object in the museum is not a car, and we actually have a huge collection of small artefacts that aren't vehicles. One of those is this parachute silk wedding dress from the Second World War. I really love this object because I think it's a very interesting insight into the social history linked to the car factories at the time, and you can really see how people and the factories worked during the wartime in a completely different way to just the normal manufacturing of the other cars you see around us. I've never broken an object that I've been working on in the museum. However, those of you that have visited us quite a lot over the last couple of years may have noticed this interactive here, the aerodynamics interactive, which I have broken. When I took the tank out to drain it and clean it, I did drop it on the floor and smashed it, and unfortunately, although it went off to get repaired, it has never worked the same since. Is an interesting question. Although I've never experienced it before, I do hear from my colleagues that we do have the ghost of an RAF man who likes to wander the conference suites upstairs. My favourite place in the museum is a public access artefact store called Automobilia. I love this place here because it's normally nice and quiet and chilled out, but if you look in all of the cabinets, there's loads of interesting things to find. I also love it in here because it's kind of a sort of curatorial, nerdy thing where this is the output of all of our back of house work. So all of our catalogued collections which we've documented, we've condition report, we've labelled and photographed and everything like that, and then they come out in here on display to the public. So this is sort of what I do on the everyday basis, but the finished version. collection, looking after a collection at the museum is quite difficult when you can't come into the museum, and also when you're a public accessible venue it's really difficult when you can't have members of the public coming in. So we worked quite hard over the pandemic to try and put as much information online as we could to reach as many people as we could and keep our collection alive during the time we were closed. We were quite badly impacted by the tiered system for opening, where we couldn't open when other places could. So it's been really great for us to still be able to talk to people online through social media, do videos and our online exhibitions. And going forward we would love to carry that kind of work on, but it's great to have our doors open again to the public now. I became a curator because I have always loved museums and I've always wanted to be a curator. I love sort of the history and the stories that you can pull from objects, and I actually originally trained as an archaeologist, but I found that actually going outside in the horrible weather conditions to pull these objects out just wasn't the life for me. But being a curator, I still get the attachment to those stories and those objects, but from the comfort of the lovely museum building with its really great cafe. There are a couple of questions that people had about cars that they owned, and we will do our best to help as much as we can. The best thing that you can do is email either the collections team or the archive team. On the British Motor Museum website, on the contact us page, you'll find all of the email addresses that you might need and telephone numbers. They're all chunked up into categories so that you can pick the one you think is most relevant to your inquiry, but we will all pass them on to whoever's best to answer it. If it's a collection-specific inquiry, you can email me at museum@britishmotormuseum.co.uk. If there's something that's more archive-related, then you can email history@britishmotormuseum.co.uk.